It was supposed to be a quiet night in Beverly Crest. The kind where the sky glows gold against million-dollar homes and the only sounds are laughter, soft music, and champagne glasses clicking together. But then, the sound of peace was shattered. By the time the echoes faded, 3 young women lay dead, right outside the gates of a mansion they'd been invited to. They never even made it inside. They had no enemies, no debts, no reason to die like this, and yet someone was waiting for them. You see, this wasn't a random drive-by. This wasn't mistaken identity, at least not in the way you'd think. This was personal, and it started with a simple invitation that would change everything. 3 women, 1 mansion, and a night that spiraled into a massacre so brutal, investigators are still piecing together what really happened. But here's the part that makes this story different. They weren't the intended victims. Someone else was supposed to die that night. Someone powerful. And whoever pulled the trigger got the wrong people. So who were the bullets meant for? Who sent the invitation? And why did it all unfold in one of Los Angeles's richest neighborhoods, a place where secrets are buried under luxury? Welcome to Crime Stories Documentaries. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city, your state, or even your country in the comments. And while you're here, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps push the story out to more people who need to hear it. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Stay till the end, because the truth behind this shooting is darker than anyone imagined.
In both of these cases, the suspects used ambush-style tactics on their unsuspecting victims. Planning and coordination was utilized to carry out these murderous attacks.
It began like any other Friday night. 3 young women preparing to step into the city lights, laughing, arguing over outfits, and singing along to music that felt louder than their worries. Iyana, Destiny, and Nenah were more than friends. They were sisters by choice. They worked hard, they dreamed big, and when life felt heavy, nights like this were their escape. That evening, as Destiny scrolled through her phone, a new message appeared. It was from a man she had met briefly at a rooftop event a few weeks earlier. He wasn't exactly a stranger, but he wasn't someone she truly knew either. The message was short. Private event tonight. Beverly Crest. Bring your girls. No cameras. Attached was a picture of a mansion. Massive, glowing under the moonlight, with cars worth more than most people's homes parked out front. Destiny's eyes lit up. She showed it to her friends, grinning. "You guys down?" she asked. Iyana hesitated, whispering that it sounded too good to be true. Nenah shrugged, saying, "Come on, it's Beverly Hills. What could go wrong?" And that's where the story turns. Because how many times have we all ignored that one uneasy feeling, telling ourselves it's nothing? Tell me honestly, if that message came to your phone, would you have said no? They didn't. By 10 p.m., the girls were dressed to perfection. Lashes done, heels clicking, spirits high. Destiny took a group selfie in the mirror, captioning it, "Outside tonight, kisses," before they headed out. That picture would later flood social media after the tragedy. The drive to Beverly Crest was beautiful. The city lights stretched beneath them like stars scattered on the ground. They sang, they laughed, and they had no idea they were driving straight into danger. Iyana frowned. "Are you sure this is it?" she asked. Destiny glanced at the text again and nodded, though her hands trembled slightly. Nenah peered out the window, whispering, "Then where's everyone?" Across the road, 2 silhouettes stood motionless under a streetlight. They weren't talking, they weren't smoking, they were just watching.
At that moment, something inside Destiny shifted. Her laughter faded. Her heartbeat grew loud in her ears. She unlocked her phone to text the man who invited them, but the message turned blue. No reply. Seen, but ignored. Who were those men? Why were they standing there? And why did the mansion look like it was waiting, not welcoming? The girls exchanged glances, torn between caution and curiosity. Nenah joked weakly, "Maybe we're early," trying to lighten the mood, but nobody laughed. The energy had changed. The car headlights behind them flickered once. Another vehicle had turned onto the street, its beams cutting across the darkness. The engine hummed softly, too soft, too steady. Iyana whispered, "Let's just go." Destiny hesitated. She thought about how far they had driven, how much effort they'd put into getting ready, how it would feel to turn back now. She didn't want to be the one who ruined the night. And that's the cruel part of human nature. We ignore danger when comfort feels closer. Because sometimes the scariest part of any true crime story isn't the killer. It's how easily victims convince themselves they're safe. Then the street went still. The two men vanished from sight. The headlights behind them stopped moving. For a moment, everything was frozen, until one of the mansion's lights flickered off. It was 12:45 a.m., and in the stillness of that Beverly Crest night, none of the women realized that they were already part of a setup. The man who sent the invitation wasn't waiting inside. He wasn't even supposed to be there. Someone else was. Because what if I told you those three women were never supposed to be in that car? Their story was already written the moment they said yes. They were headed not to a party, but straight into a trap. Drop a comment right now. What would you have done if you were in that car? Would you have turned back or stayed like they did?
Go to jail for what they did. Because now I can't even see my mom anymore. I wish she didn't even go to the party. I wish she should have just stayed at home.
12-year-old Paige Atkins wanted to speak on camera about her mother.
I can't even see my mom anymore. I'm not even going to see her when I go to the 8th grade.
Overcome by grief, Paige and her sister had a message for the people responsible for their mother's death.
I hope whoever did this to my mom goes to jail for what they did.
A thunderous crack split the air. One gunshot, then another, then a flood of them. The sound was deafening, echoing through the hills like a storm made of fire and steel. Glass shattered, tires screeched, Destiny screamed. Iyana ducked instinctively, her heart pounding so hard it drowned out the world. Bullets tore through the night like angry lightning, 30 shots, maybe more. In those few chaotic seconds, the dreamlike night turned into a nightmare no one could wake from. Inside that car, the chaos was unspeakable. The windshield was riddled with holes, the air filled with gunpowder and smoke. The shooter, or maybe shooters, didn't stop. They didn't even hesitate. And just as quickly as it began, it was over. The other car sped away into the night, its taillights disappearing into the curves of Beverly Crest. For a moment, the world was silent again. And in that silence sat three women, motionless, lifeless, their laughter stolen by bullets that were never meant for them. Police arrived minutes later. Flashing red and blue lights painted the mansion gates as officers shouted for backup. When they approached the car, what they found left them speechless. Three women, beautiful, young, full of promise, gone in an instant. None of them ever made it past the gate. That line echoed across every headline in the days that followed. They never even got out of the car. As detectives examined the scene, something didn't add up. The precision of the shooting suggested it wasn't random.
The car wasn't robbed, their purses untouched, jewelry still in place. Whoever pulled that trigger didn't want money, they wanted death. Security cameras from neighboring homes later revealed a dark SUV passing that same stretch of road multiple times in the nights leading up to the shooting. Always the same hour, always slowing down near the gate. Whoever did this knew exactly when to strike and exactly where to aim. And here's the haunting question that follows every viewer of this story. If it wasn't random, then who were the real targets? If you were the detective on this case, what would you think? Was it a setup or mistaken identity? Comment below. I want to see what theory makes the most sense to you. The media swarmed the area by dawn. News helicopters circled overhead. Reporters shouted through barriers, their microphones catching phrases like execution style and targeted shooting. But the truth was far more twisted than that.
Because inside that mansion, safe, untouched, silent, were people who should have been the ones in that car. People who were supposed to die that night. As investigators pieced together the timeline, they discovered something. The party invitation sent to Destiny wasn't unique. That same message had gone out to several women that night. Yet somehow, only Destiny, Iyana, and Nenah showed up. Coincidence? Or were they chosen? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How a simple message, just one text, can lead someone to their death before you ever click on that next exclusive invite. Think about them, 3 women who thought they were going to a party, not a funeral. Detectives marked every bullet hole, every shell casing, 32 in total. 32. That wasn't chaos, that was precision. Someone was aiming to kill. But kill who? What no one knew at that moment was that the story behind those gunshots didn't start that night. It started long before, weeks before, when something happened inside that very mansion that no one wanted to talk about. And someone, somewhere, decided it was time for payback. If you followed this far, don't click away. In the next part, we'll uncover who was inside that house, why that mansion had been under surveillance, and the secret that cost 3 innocent women their lives. Hit subscribe now, because what comes next is where the truth begins to bleed through the lies.
Brandy was a good person. She was loved by many.
Dozens of people gathered outside of Brandy's aunt's place to light candles and remember a hardworking single mother who loved her children.
They stayed up all night crying. They woke up crying. I mean, it's not something that's just gonna fade.
Children who now just wish for one more moment with their mom.
I love her and I want her to come back so I can see her again.
The mansion on that quiet Beverly Crest street wasn't just another home. It was a multi-million-dollar property. Marble floors, glass walls, an infinity pool, panoramic views of Los Angeles. But behind all that luxury, police would soon uncover a web of secrets darker than the night the women were killed. Detectives learned that the house was rented out regularly for private events. These parties weren't on any calendar, no permits, no official guest lists, just exclusive text invitations sent to a chosen few. That night was supposed to be one of those events. When officers entered the mansion after the shooting, they found something odd. Music equipment, expensive liquor, designer clothes scattered around. But not a single person was hurt. Everyone inside was alive, untouched, as if they had somehow been warned. That detail didn't sit right with investigators. If the killers came to shoot, why target the guests waiting in a car and not the people inside the house? Who was really the target? The questions multiplied when police started interviewing witnesses. One of them mentioned that earlier in the night, 2 black SUVs were spotted circling the area. Another claimed someone had been taking photos of the mansion days before the shooting. It wasn't random.
This place was being watched. As detectives dug deeper, they discovered that the mansion had links to a man known for hosting influencer parties, but also rumored to have ties to organized crime and gang members. The parties weren't more than just fun. They were networking spots for people chasing fame, fast money, and clout.
So when the women arrived that night, could they have been mistaken for someone else? Or were they purposely lured there? The police theory leaned one way, mistaken identity, but whispers around Beverly Hills said otherwise, that one of the guests inside the mansion had enemies and that hitmen came to send a message. It makes you think, how often do we walk into a place without realizing someone else's danger is waiting at the door? One officer described the crime scene as calculated chaos, the car riddled with bullets, the shooters gone without a trace, and the people inside the mansion silent, uncooperative. As investigators pressed further, they uncovered texts showing that one of the victims, Destiny, had hesitated to come that night. She'd messaged a friend, "I don't know these people, but it's Beverly Hills. What could go wrong?" Tragic irony. And just as detectives thought they were close to understanding what happened, surveillance footage surfaced, changing everything. Before we go deeper, if you think this was a random act, drop your thoughts in the comments, because what comes next says otherwise.
The morning after the shooting, Beverly Crest was unrecognizable. Police tape stretched across the road, flashing lights painted the neighborhood blue and red, and reporters swarmed the gates of the mansion that had turned into a murder scene. The LAPD's Elite Homicide Division took over immediately. They began by marking the ground, more than 30 bullet casings scattered across the driveway. The pattern of shell counts told them something important. This wasn't a panic shooting. It was coordinated. 2 shooters, possibly 3, standing in formation. Each knew exactly where to fire. Detectives canvassed the area, pulling footage from every camera in a 1-mile radius. Doorbell cams, traffic lights, even construction security footage, anything that might have captured the moment those gunmen fled. Within 48 hours, a major breakthrough came. One clip showed a dark-colored getaway vehicle speeding away just seconds after the shooting stopped. The car's taillight was cracked, a small detail that would later become a crucial lead. As the investigation deepened, police identified 3 suspects believed to have been involved, but none of them lived anywhere near Beverly Crest. They came from several miles away, and their digital footprints showed that they'd been watching the mansion weeks before the killings. This wasn't random. It was premeditated. Then came the human side of the tragedy. Families of Iyana, Destiny, and Nenah gathered for a candlelight vigil. Photos of the 3 friends lined the sidewalk, balloons, flowers, and handwritten notes glowing under the flickering light of candles. One of the mothers spoke softly to reporters. "They thought they were going to a party. My baby never made it inside." You could feel the grief in every word, the kind of pain no parent ever prepares for. Police confirmed the mansion had been under surveillance for weeks. Whoever orchestrated this operation knew the house's schedule, who came and went, and exactly when to strike. But here's what made it even more disturbing. None of the shooters had personal ties to the 3 victims. So if they weren't the intended targets, who were they after? Whoever planned this knew exactly when to strike. And what they didn't know was that one of their own had already started talking.
After weeks of quiet surveillance, early morning raids swept across Los Angeles. By dawn, 3 men were in custody, all connected to the Beverly Crest triple homicide. Their names weren't immediately released, but what police revealed was enough to shock the community. These men were linked to an organized network, a violent street gang with deep ties in the city's underworld.
detectives pieced together a motive: revenge. The attack on the Beverly Crest mansion wasn't random. It was retaliation for a prior shooting that had happened weeks earlier in another part of LA. The mansion, rented that night for a private party, was believed to be hosting someone affiliated with the rival group. The suspects had one goal: to send a deadly message. But they got it wrong, fatally wrong. When the shooters arrived, they mistook the car carrying Iyana, Destiny, and Nenah for the one belonging to their intended target. From a distance, both vehicles looked similar. In the chaos and adrenaline of that dark street, they opened fire without hesitation. Dozens of bullets tore through the car, killing the three women instantly. Women who had absolutely nothing to do with the gang war brewing behind the scenes. The community erupted in outrage. Family members demanded justice, calling for harsher action against the rising gang violence spilling into residential neighborhoods. What made the tragedy even more unbearable was the realization that the real target, the man inside the mansion, walked away untouched. He was believed to have known one of the shooters and might have even been expecting trouble, but no one inside ever came forward to cooperate with police. So if the men were after revenge, who exactly inside that mansion were they trying to kill? And why was that house, out of all places, chosen for the hit? The questions didn't stop there. Rumors began swirling that one of the suspects had been tipped off by someone inside the house, meaning this wasn't just a gang hit. It could have been an inside job. And if that was true, the real story behind Beverly Crest was only just beginning to unfold.
As the investigation deepened, detectives finally uncovered what many had suspected from the start. The women were never the intended victims. Someone inside that mansion was. Police sources revealed that one of the guests staying at the Beverly Crest home that night was allegedly linked to a local gang figure. He had been under quiet observation for months, and detectives now believe the shooters came for him. The tragic twist? The women's car pulled up at the exact moment that the man's vehicle was expected to arrive. It was pure, cruel coincidence, a matter of seconds separating life from death. Right place, wrong time. That's all it took to rewrite 3 innocent lives. Investigators replayed surveillance footage frame by frame. The shooter's car slowed down as the women's vehicle stopped by the gate. One of the gunmen pointed, gave a signal, and within seconds the air erupted with gunfire. They didn't hesitate. They didn't verify. They simply executed what they believed was a hit. But what makes this even more haunting is what followed. The shooters drove off calmly, as if confident their mission was complete. They never even knew they had killed the wrong people. They were simply answering an invitation, trusting that it was safe, that a night out in Beverly Hills couldn't possibly end in bloodshed. Friends described the women as ambitious, kind, and full of life. Iyana wanted to start her own hair business. Destiny dreamed of modeling, and Nenah loved photography. They weren't part of any feud or street violence, just 3 young women trying to live, laugh, and belong. As news of the mistaken identity broke, the public's heartbreak turned to anger. Candlelight vigils filled with tears soon turned to protests calling for stronger gun control and accountability. Families asked one painful question: how could the killers not even know who they were shooting at? Their killer never even knew their names. The tragedy became a reminder that sometimes death doesn't come for you, it finds you by accident. And just when it seemed the story couldn't get darker, investigators uncovered something unexpected in the suspects' phones, messages revealing who ordered the hit and why that mansion had been chosen in the first place. The truth, it turned out, was even more calculated than anyone imagined.
As the case drifts from headlines into memory, what remains are the faces: Iyana, Destiny, and Nenah.
3 friends whose laughter once filled car rides, whose dreams stretched beyond the city that took them too soon. Family videos show them dancing, smiling, and celebrating birthdays. Their voices echo with hope, the kind you never expect to be silenced. Iyana dreamed of opening a salon of her own. Destiny wanted to travel and model. Nenah loved capturing life through her camera lens. Now their photos rest beneath candlelight, their names whispered in prayers and hashtags. They weren't famous, they weren't rich, but they mattered. And in death, they became a reminder of how fragile safety really is. If their story moved you, honor their memory. Share this video so their names aren't forgotten. If you believe their story deserves justice, subscribe, not for me, but for them. Because the more people who see this, the harder it becomes for the world to forget.